it was great to play today. The crowd was amazing and it was a good match, so I'm really happy with the performance. I didn't have that many wins and matches recently.
Sobrang di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. Sana patuloy yung...
Kamusta mga kapang Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko. Sa Mubadala.
I think that I was able to get my groove the longer I was on court. I thankfully ended the match, I think, playing better than I started. So, was there some...
Manila is in disarray. A tennis star banned for disparaging the Philippines. The brutality of Eala retaliation, eliminating the top seed, and startlingly upset. Your front row seat to all the drama, splendor, and total there is chaos in the tennis world.
Right now.
And if you paid attention, today we anticipate just another typical tournament update. Oh my, are you in for an exciting journey? Because of what just happened, it's the kind of craziness down in Manila that screenwriters wouldn't be able to make up if they tried. We are discussing career-ending bans, retaliation games 3 years in the creation, and a startling upset it has the whole tennis world frantically redrawing their brackets. However, prior to delving deeply into this whole storm of controversy and excellent tennis, I must pause for simply 1 second and speak something from the heart. We recently surpassed 4,000 subscribers. 4,000 of you fantastic people have made the decision to participate in this tennis family, and to be completely honest, we are amazed. Each and every like, comment, subscriptions, and sharing are crucial
To us.
Because of you, we are able to bring you tales such as this, and we guarantee we have only just begun. Thus, from everyone here at Champions Tennis, thank you. I appreciate your faith in what we are constructing. Now, if you're new here since this is your first video with us, welcome to the family since you choose the most crazy day ever to join the celebration. The Women's Open in the Philippines has just brought controversy, heartache, victory, and controversy bundled together into a single explosive package. Additionally, I'm going to explain everything to you. Thus, grab your favorite drink, get at ease, and let's get started. Into the Storm Center. We must begin with the tale that is unquestionably dominating news right now. The narrative featuring tennis players, fans, and commentators from all throughout the world choosing their jaws off the ground. This type of controversy that will be spoken about for many years. The sort that alters careers and reputations indefinitely. The Philippines Tennis Federation recently awarded what many consider to be the most serious penalty in the history of the competition. Moreover, the object of this unprecedented discipline is nothing more than Eala. Now, if you're seated, they believe that this is about a straightforward code infraction or even a racket smash that become a bit too combative, perhaps once more. This is much, much larger, more serious, and to be honest, a lot more startling than anything we've witnessed in fresh recollection. According to the official declaration issued by the Philippine Eala, the Tennis Federation has been hit with a prohibition on what they see as offensive actions directed at the Philippines, in addition to making false allegations that the tournament officials were being biased in favor of the local favorite, none except than Eala herself. Allow that take a moment to soak in. This isn't only regarding having a lousy sportsmanship or a day on the court. This relates to a player allegedly going so far that the federation as a whole felt obliged to act in a way that creates shockwaves via the sport. Currently, in the realm of we've all watched professional tennis, players become agitated. We've observed rackets get launched into the stratosphere. Epic meltdowns have occurred, where athletes yell at chair umpires till their faces are flushed. We've observed outbursts. We've witnessed weeping. And we've absolutely seen players' calls for questions. All of that is a part of the high-pressure setting of professional athletics. Emotions are strong. When you have thousands of cash, rating points, as well as your expert reputation at stake with each and every point. But what Eala allegedly did above the typical heat of the moment of annoyance. Making accusations against a national tennis federation of match rigging in a hometown player's favor is basically tennis's nuclear option grievances. It goes beyond simply stating that the call was incorrect or I disagree with the umpire. It's challenging the basic integrity of the competition as a whole, implying that the competition isn't fair, that the outcomes are decided upon, and that the officials are dishonest. That poses a threat to one's career, territory for the accuser as well as possibly for the defendant. And to layer on top of those purported charges of disparaging the host country itself, burning bridges isn't the only thing that exploding them, demeaning the planet where they used to be. The Philippines, it was evident that the Tennis Federation believed they had no choice except to respond with force. Their formal declaration failed to elicit any punches as well. They made it completely evident that no choice was made lightly, but that it was essential to respect what they referred to as the values of integrity and justice that are intended to serve as the basis for competitive tennis. They are basically stating that you are not allowed to enter their nation, participate in their tournament, take pleasure in the hospitality and facilities they've offered, and then turn around and openly bash the country while producing explosives allegations of corruption without face dire repercussions. It is a line, a message to each player in the sand in the draw, and every player watching worldwide that there are bounds that you are just unable to pass. No. Regardless of how irritated you may be with your output or performance, the Federation is adamant about the stance that safeguards the integrity of the sport and the hosts honor the nation comes before any participation of each individual player. Moreover, to be honest, no matter where you stand regarding the severity of the penalty, you have to admit it sends a powerful message. However, this is where the story becomes increasingly more intricate and multi-layered. The tennis community is utterly divided on this. Social media is on fire with discussions, disagreements, and strong opinions in all directions. On one side, you've received praise from the public for taking a stance, for not allowing disrespectful conduct, as well as for ensuring both the integrity of the competition as well as the recognition of the Philippines. These advocates contend that sports ought to be more than only both winning and losing. That regard, integrity and sportsmanship are important just as much as skill and output. They emphasize that if you're going to compete globally, you must be a courteous visitor in any nation is hosting you. And that is creating inflammatory claims without solid evidence is harmful and careless. They consider this prohibition to be an essential deterrent, something that will help players in the future consider carefully before allowing them anger escalates into rude or accusing actions. On the opposing side of the argument, you have critics who are expressing worries regarding whether the penalty is appropriate for the offense, asking if a ban is too extreme, and being concerned about the precedent this settings for the expression of players and the ability to voice real concerns concerning officiating. These critics argue that although Kariva's purported remarks might have been improper or inadequate well considered, athletes ought to have some freedom to voice annoyance with officiating without facing careering ramifications. They have significant questions. Inquiries regarding the location of the line between safeguarding a competition's reputation as well as possibly silencing players who may have real complaints. The reality, as it frequently does, most likely resides in the complex middle. What we know, for there is little doubt that the Philippine Tennis Federation believed that Kariva's actions exceeded a very serious threshold, and they replied with what is unquestionably the most severe punishment they could impose down. Will history judge this? Judgment as suitably solid or too severe is yet to be determined, and it will probably rely on specifics. Things the general public might never completely understand. What particular terms were used? In what context were there attempts to settle the issue before it escalated to this degree? These are queries that might or might not be in the days and weeks to come. What we can say with confidence is that this dispute has left a lasting impression over what ought to be an occasion to celebrate tennis for women in the Philippines. Instead of the headlines being all about outstanding tennis and motivating performances, there's currently this gloomy cloud of intrigue and controversy hanging throughout the whole competition. Additionally, while the organizers and officials are most likely hoping that the narrative fades and the real tennis is once again the main focus, this will undoubtedly be a topic of debate in locker rooms, press, conferences, and media coverage of tennis for quite a little while. However, as they say in the world of amusement, the performance must continue. And in spite of the ongoing controversy during the competition, the real tennis playing on the Risoles courts the Memorial Tennis Center has been incredibly amazing. And no one, and I mean no one, has personified the spirit. Greater than the participant in this competition, everyone was there to witness the golden girl of the hometown hero of Philippine tennis, Eala, herself. If there were ever any uncertainty regarding Eala's ability to manage the enormous pressure to perform in front of her home audience, with a whole country's dreams and aspirations riding on her shoulders, she simply responded to those queries with one of the most outstanding performances we've seen from her in the recent past. Eala delivered a punch. Her pass to the quarterfinals of the Philippine Women's Open, WTA 125. Additionally, the manner she accomplished it was nothing less than outstanding. However, before we enter the specifics of the game itself, we must discuss the background because this was more than simply another Alex match. This was private. Her opponent was Himeno Sakitsum of Japan. Additionally, if such name sounds familiar to devoted fans, that's for a very good reason. Many years ago, in 2023, at the Japan, these two players squared off in the Open. Moreover, Sakitsum emerged victorious, delivering a loss that obviously lingered with the young Filipina. For 3 years, that loss has been lurking in the background of Eala's thoughts, a small voice reminding her of unresolved matters, a score that needs to settle. Thus, when the draw arrived, Eala noticed Sakitsum's name in her part. You best believe she circled that coincide with her mental calendar. This wasn't only about moving on to the next round or accruing points for ranking. This was about retaliation, about redemption, about demonstrating that the A player who was defeated 3 years ago is not the same player stepping onto the court today. Additionally, the sold-out audience at the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center may sense it in the atmosphere. The power in that stadium prior to the first ball being, even the impact was tangible, almost overpowering. Each and every individual in those stands were aware that they would witness something great. But here's the issue of retaliation matches and high-stakes emotional conflicts. Rarely do they proceed as planned, particularly in the beginning, and this also applied to the contest. When Eala and Sakitsum walked on a center court, after they passed their warm-ups, and the referee requested play to start, but what came next was not a seamless, commanding performance by the begin. Not even near. What we obtained rather, it was a total conflict, a knockdown, drag-out conflict that featured the crowd on the edge of their seats, and Eala's coaching staff most likely received a few fresh gray hairs. The game began as a roller coaster that has escaped its footprints. Sakitsum emerged completely aiming toward the fences, obviously determined to avoid simply rolling over and give Eala her match of retaliation. Without resistance, she grabbed the first game with a forceful, self-assured have fun. And briefly, you could nearly observe the anxiety spreading among the gathering. Was this the end of 2023? Once more? However, Eala is nothing if she isn't a combatant. And she retaliated right away, keeping her serve during the second match and demonstrating that she was not going to under pressure fold. What came next was some of the more heated exchanges you'll witness tennis at this level of rivalry. It was a seesaw struggle, neither player being able to seize possession and force the other to play their game. Sakitsum was playing out of her head, pushing Eala to the breaking point, making mistakes and forcing the young Filipinos definitely put in more effort than she does. Wanna for each and every point. Each and every time Eala would hit a winner that sent the audience into a frenzy, Sakitsum would immediately respond with a great shot of her own. The strain was utterly oppressive. It was visible to you, in the players' body language, in the way they were fighting for every inch of court, in the manner that neither was prepared to offer the other anything easy. The absolute hinge point, the critical time of the whole game occurred while they were tied at 4 games in the first set. In the 9th game, Eala was serving. If you've ever participated and you are aware that competitive tennis maintaining serve while the set is on the line is among the most mentally challenging circumstances in the sport. The adversary is looking for an opportunity. The audience is going berserk, and your own thoughts begins deceiving you. Additionally, Eala discovered herself in the terrifying situation for every server. She slipped behind and abruptly found himself gazing down the barrel of not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 breakpoints for Sakitsum's chances to break serve and place herself in position to finish the set. Should after winning that game, Sakitsum rises to serves for the first 5-4 set. The momentum would have changed. substantially, and it's unclear how the rest of the game would have taken place. The elderly Alex Eala, who was defeated by 3 years ago, Saketsum, may have disintegrated in the face of such strain. However, the fight is the new Alex Eala. Tested, psychologically stronger version of herself that has been shaped by years of playing tennis professionally. Additionally, what she did in that moment was nothing short of remarkable. However, she also shown a delightful sense of humor and self-awareness when she informed reporters, says she hopes the supporters continue to support her. However, she grinned and said that she recognizes that they may need to reconsider that support if she ends up confronting Alex Eala farther in the competition. It was ideal. Recognition of the truth of the circumstance. Filipino fans adore quality tennis, and they've shown respect and gratitude to each and every player. However, if it ultimately boils down to Vake versus Eala, with a title on the line, there isn't any question who 99.9% of that crowd is going to provide assistance. Vake is also aware of it, acknowledges that, and is obviously alright with it. That kind of graciousness and her sense of humor is one of her qualities. Such a popular touring performer. Next, the following obstacle is Lin Hu of China, who made it to the quarterfinals after defeating Thailand's Manangka Sawini in a tough two-setter 6-3, 7-6. That second set tiebreak tells that Saini didn't lose without a combat, which Lin Hu had to deserve. Triumph. Vake is aware of the degree of the level of competitiveness will only rise. From this point on, if you can, the simple matches, consider any professional tennis match to be simple, are finished. Starting in the quarterfinals, every opponent is going to be a serious danger. Someone who has demonstrated that belong at this point in the competition. However, Vake seemed utterly unfazed by the challenge. When questioned about confronting more difficult competition as the competition progresses, she had the perfect response. That's what I'm here for, to have games to raise my game. That's the attitude of a victor. Someone who embraces the task instead of avoiding it. And just now, Vake's level appears to be quite frightening. She's making clean hits with the ball. She's moving smoothly. She is working alongside assurance, and she appears to be mentally locked in. If she continues to play like this, she will be incredibly hard for anyone to defeat. Yellow included. However, people, we are unable to conclude this thorough coverage without discussing the largest shocking of the day. The outcome that had jaws dropping in press rooms around the world. The disturbance that has entirely blown open the top half of the draw. That caused sportsbooks to rush to reassess their odds. We had a traditional Goliath versus David. Or maybe more precisely, a young person against experience showdown that defied all anticipations and forecasts. The quantity, the tournament's single seed, the top-ranked participant in the draw, the cunning veteran with several years of experience on the professional tour, Tatiana Maria of Germany, has been eliminated. The top seat has been removed. The favorite has vanished. The enormous slayer who accomplished this huge upset is Tatiana, a 22-year-old Russian athlete Prozorova. A name that is most informal, most likely. Tennis fans were unaware of this before this tournament, but one they surely won't forget today. Let's place this in perspective so that you comprehend simply this outcome is quite stunning. The age of Tatiana Maria is 38. She is a mother of two, who has managed to strike a balance between family time and competing on the tennis tour for professionals. She has observed everything the sport can throw at her, played across all surfaces and against all style of opponent that is conceivable, and created one of the most skillful, most games on the tour that are annoying. Maria doesn't overwhelm you with speed or force huge serves will get you off the court. Rather, she employs cunning, diversity, angles, and tactical intelligence to drive opponents insane.
She will blend in.
Slices, moonballs, drop shots, and variations in speed that make it extremely challenging for younger, stronger players to develop their cadence. On the paper, this ought to have been a horrible matchup for a young athlete such as Prozorova, who was expected to get annoyed by Maria's diversity and make too many mistakes made while attempting to a lot. However, someone neglected to mention Prozorova said she was expected to fail this match. The young Russian emerged onto the court with absolutely zero fear, zero intimidation, and a clear strategy that she used to get close to perfection. From the outset, it was obvious that this would not be a coronation for the highest position. When Prozorova needed it, she was combative, to exercise patience when the circumstance warranted for it. Most significantly, she relocated, running down everything like a gazelle Maria attempted to hurl at her. It was a total war of attrition. Neither player is prepared to give a single inch, fighting fiercely for each and every just 1 point. You could feel the stress. As the games progressed, neither was able to ensure a clear split. The collection unavoidably reached a tiebreak, which is always a terrifying experience. Even a single or 2 points can make all the distinction. In the tiebreak, it was the youthful legs and possibly the more recent Prozorova's thoughts that created the distinction. She maintained her composure amid when it mattered, applied pressure, and hit her places most, and used the tiebreaker to win 7-6 in the first set. At that moment, you could almost feel the shift in momentum. Everything had been hurled by Maria. She had a chance to defeat this young opponent in that opening set and had lost by a narrow margin. Now she had to deal with the possibility of needing to prevail in 2 consecutive sets against a player who was obviously full of assurance and conviction. The subsequent set started with both players trading holds. The level of stress is still extremely high. Prozorova caught a break to take a 3-point lead to 2, but Maria, a WI veteran, was not yet finished fighting. She was able to maintain her striking distance at 4-3. And for a time, it looked as if she could locate that one vital setback that would level the set and potentially change the entire momentum back in her favor. However, Prozorova's speed and court coverage were beyond excessive. She was pursuing shots that ought to have been winners, forcing Maria to play 2 additional balls, 1 additional ball, and making the veteran continues to put up more effort for each point. The total amount of physical and mental toll started to emerge on Maria. And when Prozorova had her opportunities to end the game, she took them with clinical effectiveness. She sealed the second set with a score of 6-4. The recording of the match is one of the best achievements of her brief career and causing shockwaves to travel through the world of tennis. Following the game, Prozorova was, of course, grinning with pride and happiness. However, she also displayed a degree of maturity, kindness, and triumph that is a positive reflection of her personality. She stated to the press, "Maria displayed a tremendous good game. Perhaps it's just more I won because I put pressure on her." That's a really modest approach to describe what was truly a fantastic performance on her part. But it demonstrates her regard for her opponent and is aware that disturbances occur in sports, occasionally as a result of outstanding play from the underdog, and occasionally as a result of the favorite exerting additional pressure or having a bad day. The truth is most likely that it was a mix of Prozorova was outstanding in both tennis and Maria experiencing the burden of being the first seed, and the standards that came with it were unable to locate when it counted most. She was at her finest.